So let us do it. So this is our 41st real estate chat that we've had over the years. Please note that this call, like other calls, are being recorded. We do these calls periodically, always on a Thursday at 11 a.m., with some of the top New York City real estate agents and experts in New York City. And today is a special one. This is different from calls past. The first half, for about 30 minutes or so, we're going to talk about the real estate market like we usually do. And I always say there's no better way to get an information edge on the real estate market than to hear what these experts have to say. It's now been twice that agents have called the bottom of the market on this call months before the media even got a sniff of it. So these calls are really critical. The second half, we're going to talk about the NAR settlement. Now, we know it's a little risky to talk about this in a public forum since things can change and things are not finalized yet. But ultimately, as a group, we decided to move forward with this because we felt it's the elephant in the room. Everyone seems to be talking about it. And the best way that we can provide value as those with a lot of real estate experience is to talk about it, even if we're somewhat limited in what we could say. So about me, my name's Phil. I'll be hosting today. I was a New York City real estate agent for about 20 years, but now I spend my time running Lease Break, which is a marketplace for shorter leases and lease breaks in New York City. You could post listings, you could search for listings, and you could also join our lead program as an agent and get exclusive rental listings or work with renters. So let's turn now to the first half of the discussion, the market piece of the discussion. So last time we spoke, it was in February, and things were looking good in both sales and rentals. Agents were pretty upbeat. At the time, we did feel like maybe rate cuts would be a little more delayed, but we felt like they were going to happen, and we felt confident that they would still happen this year, which would give another jolt to the real estate market. But now it's April. Are rate cuts happening? Are they not going to happen? Are they further away? Is this going to affect your buyers, your sellers, your renters? How are things looking now? What's the typical spring market looking like? These are just some of the questions we're going to get into. So with that, let's turn to the experts and the agents. So first, we have our resident data expert extraordinaire, Noah Rosenblatt, with us today. He's the founder of Urban Digs, a phenomenal data analytics and market insights platform, which many real estate agents subscribe to, and is probably more important now than ever with all the uncertainty out there. So have a look at that if you haven't already. Usually we start with Noah. He gives us a lay of the land from a data perspective, which by definition, he'll admit to lags a little bit. And then that's why we eventually turn to the agents and managers to get more of a boots on the ground perspective. So with that introduction, Noah, how are things looking in real estate with respect to the data? What are you seeing out there?
Thank you, Phil, for having me. It's always a pleasure to be on this with such an amazing group. First off, a great point. Let's just preface it by saying that what these agents are going to speak about is probably 2 or 3 weeks ahead of what I got. All right. We get the data as it is contract signed. That's what we get. So that's how we track our market. And when I look at this market, I mean, we're doing good. We're doing good. We're not thriving. You know what I'm saying? We're recovering. We are definitely at a much better place than wherever we were 4 or 5 months ago. Right. And I think we got to have some perspective when we look at the Manhattan markets. I mean, we just been through the ringer. I mean, we really have. We just been through the ringer. It's been a couple of years. When you look at deal activity on a monthly basis and what we're supposed to be at and what we have come at month after month, I think it's something like 19 out of the last 21 months have seen below trend deal activity, right? So it's been a slow down cycle. But when I look at where we are now, this is the best volume that I have seen in a long time right now. So we have recovered. We are in the spring season. We're below where we're supposed to be for this time of year. For example, we're supposed to have 1,088 contracts signed in the month of April. We're probably going to end up in the upper 900s. Okay. But we were in the mid 500s back last September. And we were in the low 600s to end last year. So like we did improve, and we always like to look at deal activity as a sign of improvement. But we can't we can't forget what happened. I mean, prices have fallen in this market from a little over a year ago. We showed data down about 10, 12% from that peak to trough. And when you think about the peak, I would think somewhere around March of last year. When you think the trough, I would think somewhere around October, November, December of last year. And when I look at the market today, we have recovered a little bit. So wherever we are right now, I think we've clawed back a couple of those percentage points of decline right now. But I can't help but notice what's going on outside. There's been a change in interest rates. As you said, the Fed, you know what's going on, that we're going to get one rate cut this year. 2 months ago, 3 months ago, they were thinking 6 or 7. So like there's been a drastic change. Rates are higher. I wonder if that's going to keep a lid on our markets of how good this can go. If you're priced right, you're still selling quickly. Okay. If you got a deal within 30 days, the data shows you got 99% of your asking price. If you price it right, there is a market. But if you misprice or you price aspirational, the market is going to penalize you. That's what I see right now in a nutshell. Curious to see what everyone else is saying.
Also, no, quick question on that. In terms of inventory, what are you seeing?
Yeah, so
you think with prices?
We have a highly cleansed number of inventory. We show just under 7,000 units on the market, about 6,900. We usually go about to 7,500. We're kind of apace. We're neutral when it comes to supply. I think the quality of supply might be in question. It might not feel like there's a lot of good deals out there. It might not feel like there's a lot of opportunistic sellers that are ready to go versus aspirational sellers out there. But when I look at supply in a broader and a historical sense, we're kind of in a neutral place right now. We're neither tight nor we're in a surplus at all. And we're supposed to go to about 7,500 units of supply by June. That's our active season in spring. We're at 6,900 in mid-April. So we're kind of just doing what we're supposed to do right now.
Awesome. Great. And no, we may come back to you with some questions and comments later, but let's just at this time move to some of the top real estate agents and executives to get a more finger on the pulse perspective. And also, like last time, I've also asked everyone to give me a number between 1 and 10, with 1 being a strong buyer's market, 10 would be a raging seller's market. And I do this because this really helps provide context to any it's good or it's not so good type of commentary. It really helps ground things and also helps us track things and compare them as we go along. So let's just go with the order that we came on the call. We'll do things differently for the second half of the call, but for this half, let's just go with the order that people came on the call. So Antonio, let's just start with you, then we'll go to Fred. But Antonio, what are you seeing out there in the market right now?
Well, I'll start with my score. Last time we did this, I was on the buyer side, bordering on the neutral 5, right? But 4 to 5, somewhere there. But I think we're at 6 and going upwards. We're in an upswing. From all of us in the trenches here, I'm sure from all the people I'm talking to, showings are up. Open houses are up, and deals are being made. Just this past week, 1 accepted offer on the seller side, 3 accepted offer on the buy side. I'm not going to talk about them because we are very superstitious about accepted offers. I think the interest rates coming down a bit has helped, and people who are waiting for the properties to go down, they've waited long enough, and some of these properties that are priced right. I mean, what Noah talked about, that's basic stuff. I mean, he could repeat that every time we talk, right? And it would be the same, right? It's about pricing. But what is a stark reminder for us is where the troughs are this past year. The peak, we all enjoyed, but we're not anywhere where we were before, and yes, we're still in recovery mode, but what I think is making buyers buy at this point is the real need. So if I were to talk to any of my colleagues here, or we all know this, but the ones who are new in the business, work with real buyers. right? Work with the people who are qualified, has an attorney, and ready to make an offer. And then for the sellers, of course, like Noah said, price it right. This is not an aspirational market. Probably won't get to the above recovery to a raging 10, probably for a couple of years, right? There's not just the economic factors that's affecting real estate right now, but it's also the sentiment, right? There's a lot of stuff going on in the world that's not making people feel confident. They'd rather rent. And I think it's all about focusing on the ones you can help right now, right? The buyers who are real, because the spring market we're in the middle of it, and it's gonna peak, and then everyone will leave the city and go to their respective summer homes. So again, I'm at 6, and I think we're in the upswing.
Awesome. Thanks, Antonio. And also, I have to give you credit. I think you did call the bottom in November, December on the call. And it seems like that tracks with what Noah said. So congrats on that. Let's now move to Fred. Now, I am going to give Fred a proper introduction in later on because he certainly deserves it. But for now, Fred, if you don't mind just chiming in with your thoughts on the market, if you have any thoughts on what you're seeing out there.
So a few things. First of all, I'm going to give myself a shameless plug and suggest that you guys read my quarterly market report, which, in my opinion, gives great information, much of which is gleaned from Noah. And Noah is nodding like, yes, it is. And Noah was kind enough to confirm something I've always suspected, which is that there is a substantial number, smaller number of contracts signed in election years than in other years. And that primarily manifests in the second half of the year. So realistically speaking, I think we are steering into a time in which it's likely that there will be fewer deals in the second half of 2024 because election years make people apprehensive. That being said, to go along with what Antonio said, one of my favorite phrases is that New Yorkers have a limited tolerance for delayed gratification. And so once they have put it off for long enough, then they want to do it. And I think we are having some experience of that. The most interesting thing I've seen in the market in the last few months, well, the most interesting two things. One, there are a lot more co-op sales. You know, co-op sales were really slow for a long time, and the market was really being driven by condos. If you guys are looking, as I'm sure you all are, at the Olshan report, you're seeing that there are just more co-op sales in the Olshan report than there have been at any time recently. So that's one thing that I think is interesting, is that a lot of a corollary to that is that more expensive co-ops are selling again. Basically, you couldn't unload a $10 million co-op for love or money for the last few years. Now there is more traction in those units as long as they're priced right.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And Fred, could I get a number out of you? Just curious where you see 1 being a buyer's market,
I still
10
think it's
being
a
seller's
5,
market?
personally.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay, great. Thank you, Fred, for your comments. And obviously we'll be talking to you more later on in the webinar. Nikki, if you don't mind sharing your wisdom on what you're seeing in the real estate market now.
You know, I'll start off with my number, which I agree with Fred, it's a 5. Everything is really on a case-by-case basis. I had a client who flew in from Europe to look at properties, and 2 days before she arrived, something came on the market, and there was a multiple bid, and it was gone in a week. Everything else we were looking at has been lingering on the market for upwards of 180, sometimes almost a year. So it's very sort of chaotic in a way. But as agents and advisors, giving our clients the best context by market segment based on what they're looking for. And the I like it, I want it. Had someone who flew in, they're like, I like that, I want it. We're putting together an offer. So there's like, it's all layers. And rentals, I don't even want to talk about. I feel like I've been beat up and to a pulp with some of my clients lately.
And I just have to push you a little bit on that. Is that because the market's just so insane? Is that what
The
you're suggesting,
market
that there's
is
no inventory?
just, there's not a lot of great inventory. And when something is great comes on and it's well priced and in great condition, it's gone. And I think that's really the lesson there, especially for sellers who are now thinking about what's coming next, really saying to them, look, you want your property to fly off the market, you got to put in the work, or you got to price it so that someone is willing to do it and move on.
Great. Thank you, Nikki, for those thoughts. So Caroline Bass, and she is now in full video form. We'd love to see you, Caroline. Thank you for turning your video on. So what are you seeing now in the market out there? And of course, I don't know if you have your rental agent with you, but I don't know if you have any rental thoughts as well. I know you used to do a ton of rentals, so any rental thoughts as well would be helpful. But let us know. What are you thinking out there? Caroline, are you with us? Oh, you might be on mute, Caroline. We don't hear you. Does anyone else hear? You guys can't hear Caroline, right? We can't hear her. Yeah,
Hey.
Caroline, we can't. Oh,
Sorry,
there
having
you
a
are.
little difficulty there.
Okay, we got you.
Yes, hi. I don't have my rental. I don't have any of my rental agents with me today. Although I did do a couple of rentals myself, and but on the landlord side for some of my investors, they had rentals coming back up, and I mean, I've had bidding wars like crazy for rentals on what we thought were reach prices. So I'm sorry, Nikki, I feel you. I think that it's really hard out there. Everybody who's been coming through has just been saying there's no inventory, and that they're having a hard time finding things. And maybe what they mean to say really is there's no inventory for something that is decently renovated or in good condition. So I'm feeling that for the rentals. For sales, I also think that I can't remember what I said last time, but I'm still seeing a lot of strength on the list side and on the buy side. When I'm with my buyers and we're looking at open houses, the open houses are very well attended. I went to one with a buyer last week, and it was a new listing to the market, and they had 20 people that had signed in already on the show sheet. And this is just a little one bedroom for, I think it was like 700,000 on the Upper West Side. So I myself, I have a listing at the Beresford, which is it can be a really tricky building. There's a lot of inventory in there right now. I have weekly reports that I send to my sellers, and I just sent it on Monday, and I had 36 showings in 46 days there, and we have one offer so far. And so I think it's strong. I think buyers are back and out there looking, which is not going to show up on Noah's market reports. I think that they're being diligent and picking the right thing, but I think people are out there looking, and I think that's really encouraging, more than anything. And I would still say like 6.5, frankly.
Great. Okay, thank you so much, Caroline, for those thoughts. And let's now move on to Mark D. Mark D, what are you seeing out there right now in real estate land?
Hello. Good morning, everybody, or good afternoon. Still good morning. Let's see. Brown, Harris, Stevens. We're talking the market today. It's all over the place still. You know, I know we were talking about numbers and where this is going to fall, but it really depends on the property, the pricing, the neighborhood, the building. It's, you know, as in New York, it always comes down. It's a very small segment. I put on a first floor apartment on the east side, which, you know, notoriously first floor apartments, you know, very hard to sell, sometimes no light, have 2 offers on it within 30 days. Had a big apartment at the 79th in Columbus. Great views, fantastic, very high price. Also in contract for 30 days. Tribeca, dead. Tribeca, I have a $6.5 million property, and we have two properties actually in the building. Brown Harris does, we do, and Mike Cairns and Emma Cairns have one, and maybe do a showing once a month. You know, so but buyers are back. I agree. Buyers are back out there. I'm showing people are actually looking for properties that they can do work in, which is unbelievable because everybody knows for the last 2 years, nobody has wanted to do any work whatsoever. So, you know, these are great stats that are coming in now to support all of what you're talking about. And I do agree that, you know, buyers are back, they're coming back. I think they're all frustrated, just like Fred said earlier. I know that I have at least 4 buyers who I've been working with probably for a year, and now are really sort of putting the pedal to the metal to buy something. They thought the interest rates were going to come down. We all thought the interest rates were going to come down. They're not coming down. They said, enough already. Let's just do this. So these are all good signs that the market will, you know, come up. We're putting on a 5-bedroom on the west side, 3,200 square feet. I think it's going to be priced well. So, you know, from again, what Fred said about the 10 million, you know, properties or between 5 and 10, I think are going to start to trade a little bit more. I know I see them coming on. A lot of them are coming on the market. So let's hope there are enough buyers out there for the inventory that's being processed. But yeah, I would say to give a number, about 4 to 5 buyers. Still, buyers still have. Yep. Yeah, buyers still have. I mean, they're out there, they're making offers, but they're still about 10 to 5% below ask. You know, some of them, even if they're trading quickly. You know, the one on 79th Street went all ask, but it was a special property.
Great, thank you so much.
Below ask, right, Mark?
Say it again.
I said, or even 20% below ask.
Yeah, I mean, it depends. It depends on the building. It depends on the pricing, really. And you know, that's a great stat. You know, before from Nikki about, you know, seeing all that stuff going on, which was, or who was it, Carolyn at the Beresford? Fantastic. That gives me hope.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Mark D. Let's now move on to William Bolls, who works 2 markets, Connecticut and Manhattan. And William, would love to know what you're seeing, and if you could mention Connecticut too, that just kind of helps give us a flair for the suburbs.
I have 2 numbers for you, 2 markets, 2 numbers, right? So I put in New York City as 5.75, right? And I think it's trending up, and I have comments on that. And then in Connecticut, I'll put it as 7. You can't be aspirational here either unless you have something super special. Or let's say it's sub 500, because we do have things that are sub 500. But just with regards to, I think, New York City, putting it in a different way than Fred did, there's all this pent up demand looking for an excuse to make a move. So like every time we get a little interest rate thing, we feel this, it's just like, it's like a quarter of a point, but oh my, right? It's because people have to move on with their lives. We've all been waiting so long, right? So I feel that a lot, because you get these little pops and you're like, okay, it's because of that. I think the other thing is, like, the reason why there's so much stuff that's not moving, we all do this on this call. You gotta do the work. You gotta price it right. You gotta, if you got something, I have something that I'm bringing on in a week and a half. I made them do the things. I made them paint. It's an estate. I made them stage. It's like, this is how we do it. This is how we compete in this market. I think there's a lot of agents that either don't want to deal with it or don't think about it. You got to do the things. I was photographing. I too have a large apartment coming on the Upper West Side next week, and I spent like an hour moving everything out of the hallway, right, to get it all to playing art director, because pictures are so important. So anyway, that's my soapbox. Do the things, price it right. No matter what it is, you're going to entice people. I also think back to just thinking about pricing. Most of us sold through the fall of 2008 into 2009. And I remember going to a really good, some sort of sales seminar or something or whatever. And the guy's like, folks, it's pricing. No matter what, it's pricing. And it's just stuck in my head. There is a buyer for every property if the price is right. Anyway, that's my thing.
Love it. Wow. William Bolls all fired up today.
I'm
I
fired
love
up this morning. Sorry, Phil. It's all the pre-call
No,
calls
no.
that you and I did.
Yeah. I had a lot of pre-call calls this time with a bunch of you. Okay. So thank you, William. Let's now move on to Dan Marrello, Senior Managing Director, who can give us a great kind of broad view on what's going on. And if you could throw in rentals there too, Dan, like always, we really appreciate it. So Dan, what are you seeing out there right now?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with well, I'll start with I think it's a 5, and that is down from, I think I said 7 last meeting or 6 or something like that. I think it's a very, very tough market to navigate and understand, and I feel like it changes weekly. So I think your weekly numbers, like Noah, posts the weekly numbers. I think those are more important than ever. I just went on a sailing trip, so I want to, sort of make it look like reference that it's almost like you get the wind in your sails and then all of a sudden you lose the wind again. And that's what we keep seeing. Like, I speak to my agents, and one week I'm extremely busy. The next week, oh my God, I haven't shown it in 10 days. So I would say that this market is, obviously very rate sensitive. And on December 18th, everybody jumped into the market. And that's why we had a busy January, February, because there's the announcement we're going to have 6 rate cuts. And then the last 10 or 11 days, we've seen a rate increase. And our open house data shows that this weekend's open houses were down 11% as far as attendance is. And then you're looking at the weekly contracts signed, and they're okay, like he said, but they're not great. I think in February, we thought, this is it. We're out of the woods. We're going to blow into the spring season, and it's going to be amazing. And I don't think it's going to be amazing. Sorry to be the bearer of bad news, but I think we have a rough road ahead of us until we actually see a rate cut. Fred, to your point about co-ops, it's interesting. I'm mainly downtown, but I was comping a listing on the Upper East Side, a large, I think it was a 5th or Park Avenue listing. And this traded in 2010 for over 10 million. And they'd be lucky if they get 7 million for it right now. And maybe that's the impetus for people jumping back into the co-op market, is the value is really there now. So it's very interesting. And maybe, we can do some data on that, is the co-op market and the price disparity. Rental market I think it's still very hot, and I think it'd be interesting to tell. I'm sure everybody on this call has ever done a rental, sees that the vouchers in the market right now are absolutely insane. I mean, you price anything below $3,000, and you've probably got 15 people with a voucher applying for it. And I can't imagine that doesn't have something to do with keeping this market tight, the rental market, right? Where you have all, before, I would say, 3-4 years ago, you would get a call every so often. Now it's 15 applications coming in for vouchers, where you almost don't have a shot if you don't have a voucher, type of thing. So I can't imagine that's not putting downward pressure on supply in Manhattan, which is obviously putting pressure on pricing as well.
Dan, I have to claim ignorance on this. Do you mind explaining a little bit more about the vouchers? I'm not as versed in this. Maybe, and I'm hoping maybe some people listening are not sure what you're referring to.
Yeah, so this could be a whole nother hour-and-a-half call, but the city has issued a lot more vouchers, which are your Section 8s, your city FEPs and whatnot. But these voucher limits now, I think as of right now, they're 26 and change, some of the vouchers, like $2,600. And there's even a voucher out there, I want to say it's close to 4,000 if you rent on the Upper East Side. It's like a federally issued Section 8 voucher or something like that. I could be wrong, but it actually gives you over.
You're right.
I'm right? So
yeah,
they give you something like $4,000 to go rent an apartment if you're a voucher holder. So I mean, on the Upper East Side, you typically can get a studio for $2,000, $2,200. Now, every person that has a voucher qualifies for the run-of-the-mill apartment on the Upper East Side, for example. So
Wow.
it's
All right,
interesting.
thank you for that. Yeah, that sounds like a huge piece. Fred, did you have something you wanted to add to
Well, I
that?
just wanted to ask Dan to also talk about for a moment what deep shit you're in if you don't respond to the voucher people.
That's that's another hour.
Yeah, it's a whole
but I
hour.
nonetheless think it is worth saying because
Worth
a lot
mentioning.
of people will hear it here.
That's right. You could lose your license and
Yeah,
you
you
get your
can.
broker in
And
trouble.
it's a shame because Fred, the system is broken for New York City.
You aren't kidding, man.
You know, the idea is to house homeless people or people in shelters or whatnot. But the process, and I think the discrimination for most landlords out there is not necessarily a racial discrimination or discrimination against homelessness. It's a discrimination against the process. So the point that someone sees the apartment to the point that a landlord will actually get checks for the apartment can go anywhere on a very, very quick side of 3 weeks to 6 months. And what landlord in their right mind would want to wait 6 months to receive checks in a completed application process, especially in this market? So,
But for the landlords, it's guaranteed money. It
it
makes,
is, but you're not guaranteed rent for the 6 months that you held out waiting for the signed lease.
No,
and
that's
check.
true. That's true.
And also one other thing is that it can take weeks for the city to look at the choice that the voucher holder makes and then turn it down.
Yeah. So there's a
Right.
whole inspection
Which we
process.
see over and over and over again, that the city actually is refusing to allow the voucher holder to rent the property that they want.
Right. And it should be retroactive so that a landlord hasn't lost money because they're going to use this program. But let's
Wow,
go.
this is-
I have a question since
Yeah, yeah.
So
we're
this is
talking.
a whole nother call.
It's a whole nother
Yeah,
call.
let's move on. But that was very illuminating, and that's why I love these calls because I learned so much from all of you. Okay, so we have, let's say, a few minutes left before we go to our second half. So let's now move to Tracie and then Scotty. Tracie first.
Hey, Tracie.
Hi, Tracie. Good to see you. What are you seeing out there, Tracie?
Well, this is the fun part of being one of the later agents in the call to say, I'm not going to repeat everything that everyone else has said. I concur. Fred, I love having you on the call. This is such it's really nice to hear your perspective. So you are most welcome. And I look forward to hearing more about what you're going to talk about later too. But Phil, I'm just going to touch on two things that I don't think many people have talked about. And that is new development. There are crazy deals in new development. You always know the best time is the beginning or the end of a project, but something at, say, like the Madison House, 15 East 30th, there's some very big ticket apartments that are getting like 27-30% discounts net with the concessions on closing. And I mean, you can put a price as high as you like and then say, oh, we slashed it 50%, but there's some real deals. And this is not the only new dev that I'm seeing. So this is the time. And since I'm doing the plug for deals, Miami, South Florida, you can get deals that we haven't seen since COVID time, since pre-COVID. So the rental market is softened, the condo market is softened. You can negotiate on some houses that you weren't able to even 6 months ago. So for any of you South Florida buyers, come talk to me too. That's all I got here, but I would take a 5 like everyone else if you need my number.
5. You're a 5. Okay, thank you so much, Tracie. And Scotty.
And
yes,
thanks for coming to my events, Tracie.
It was such a pleasure. I'm so happy you let us know that. God bless.
Appreciate it.
Scotty, what are you seeing out there right now? And feel free to touch on rentals too, because I know you dabble in that as well.
Yes, cool. Thank you. So sorry for any background noise. I'm at Wagner Middle School on the Upper East Side. I was giving a career day discussion for the kids to try to explain to them why they should not get into real estate. So hopefully it went well.
You were just getting young renters or something.
Yeah, I'm just trying to, I was not giving out my card or anything, but just to answer, it's great to be on the panel and see so many amazing people. So, just a couple things on the sales side. I work mostly downtown, so I'm a West Village guy. But I've had it's weird. I had a gorgeous property, like mint condition one on Greenwich Street in the West Village, just under 2 million. We had listed originally in October. There was nothing. And then we took it off for a couple weeks, relisted it in late January, boom, like asking price. That I feel is like, you know, when the market started to turn, I'm taking out buyers downtown and there's just no inventory. And it doesn't matter if I have buyers that are $500,000, $1 million. I have buyers that are like between 5 and 8, just looking for a 2-bedroom. I mean, there's almost nothing out there in terms of inventory. So the buyers are kind of like, you know, taking a break. They're like, I'll be back next month, you know, whatever it is. I'm dealing with a lot of pied-à-terre buyers right now. The other part of it, I have been doing a lot of rentals, and the rentals have been going very quickly. And if it's priced right, even if it's priced a little aggressively, it's still going to get a lot of traffic. So every rental that I've done, and I have a few more coming up right now, you know, in the next couple of weeks, has gone, I would say, within 48 hours. And, you know, it's, you know, hard to keep telling people no, 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 but like people really are trying to find a place. And I don't know if we're having more, I'm not working on the renter side, but on the landlord side. And it's just kind of incredible the amount of responses that I get and the amount of people looking. And also the amount of people who just don't know what the hell they're doing. I mean, when I would say 95% of the people, the renters inquiring, are not using a broker. They don't understand the process. I walk them through it, you know, every step of the way. There are some people who have called about vouchers. So, you know, you just handle them as you're supposed to handle them. Say yes. The question is, do you take vouchers? The answer is always yes. And then, you know, kind of explain to them, show them the property or whatever it is. But so as far as the number on the market, I would say it's probably 5 on the sales. You know, with renting, it's like, you know, every renewal, I'm telling my landlords right now, I'm like, you know, nudge them up a little bit, but, you know, just keep them in, because we don't need the vacancy. Everybody seems to be happy with last year's rent as well. So we're keeping that pretty consistent. But the rentals that, yeah, go ahead.
Oh, no, I ask you, going for over ask. I'm sure the rentals are going into bidding wars.
Yeah, so the rentals that I've had recently have gone pretty much at asking. There was one that went over asking, but
Okay.
it's like the thing is, I have to, like, the second that I get a like rental deal, sign a deal, I have to remove it from all the websites, because I am as you're trying to, you know, finish the deal, sign the lease, everything needs to get off the websites, because I'm constantly getting, oh, we'll pay more, we'll pay up front, you know, we can't do that anymore. So there's like nothing. You have to immediately remove it from all platforms. There's no evidence, put it off market, whatever it is, and then just finish the deal, get the co-op approval or landlord approval, and just be done with it.
And it's only April. It's only, I mean,
and this has been happening January, February, March, and yeah, now into April. So
Crazy.
yeah, I mean, I have a lot of stuff coming up. The landlords, you know, a lot of them, it's interesting because some of them were thinking about selling these properties. I'm dealing with co-op owners right now who are renting, and you know, where are they going to go? They don't have any place to go. They don't want to give up their 2.75% interest rate.
Yep.
Who would? So they're trying to like beg the co-op, hey, can we rent for another year? Can we continue? And a lot of the co-ops are being considerate with that as well. And I'm sure some aren't. But a lot of the prices that people, you know, paid for a couple of years ago that now they're renting it out, they may not recoup that price on their co-op. And so that's why it's in the co-op's best interest to let them continue to rent until the market goes up a little bit. So anyway, a 5, and hello to all you beautiful people on this panel.
Thank you so much, Scotty. So we're right on comments. Amazing discussion. Thank you so much. This was not an easy one. I had a lot of pre-calls with people yesterday, but I think we survived it. I think we did great. I think we added a ton of value, which is the most important thing. And if you were on this call and you registered, I'll send out a summary so you can send it out to your clients. And as I always say, by the way, just be careful with that, but you could send it out to your clients and other brokers or colleagues. But as I always say, agents, feel free to plagiarize any information that I sent you in those emails that I send after this call. Make it your own. I don't care. If it helps you develop content for you and your clients and gives you a reason to reach out to your clients, I could not be happier. So just please do not even feel you have to give us or this call any credit. Just please use it for your clients. And thanks to everyone on this call and in the audience. Thanks again to our amazing panelists.
I just want to quickly thank you, Phil,
Quick.
for organizing this. You're filling a gap that is lacking in so many markets, including our own. So thank you so much. You're really doing a value to all of us.
No, it's
Thanks,
my pleasure. I
Phil.
mean, honestly, it doesn't happen without the panelists. I mean, you guys are the value. And so thank you so much for making this happen. I really look forward to it every time we do it. Hopefully we'll have Fred more frequently. I'll get on Fred about that. He adds so much value. But anyway, thanks again. If anyone has any feedback, of course, always email me. Until next time, feel free to come off mute, say goodbye. And until next time, I love you all. So take care, everyone.
Happy spring,
Bye,
everybody.
everybody. Cheers.
Thanks, everybody.
Everybody.
Ciao.
Bye.
See you later.
Bye.